What's up, everybody? Carolina Jackpot coming at you with another 2019 college football pick and prediction video. The team I'm doing tonight is one that has been suggested by several subscribers, most notably my son and Marcus Mariota. Yeah, right, that Marcus Mariota. We call him Maserati for short. Go check him out. He has a YouTube channel as well. Guess you figured it out by now. None other than the Oregon Ducks, a team that participated in the first college football playoff back in 2014, and they are looking to get back again. A lot of people have them ranked inside the top 10 this year in the preseason polls. A lot of people have them winning the Pac-12 North. Will they do that? Will they be in the top 10? Will they win the Pac-12 North? And will they be able to achieve the win total that Las Vegas has set for them in 2019? Stay tuned. We're going to dive into all that. We'll do a complete breakdown on this team, and we'll take a look at the schedule. All right, Oregon, guys. 9-4 in 2018. They were 5-8 against the spread. So if you bet money on Oregon, more often than not, you lost money on Oregon. Mario Cristobal is the head coach. This is his second year as head coach. He was the offensive coordinator, there in 2017 under Willie Taggart, and then he took over the team after Taggart left for Florida State. He's 36-52 as a head coach, which, given that he was 9-4 last year, he does not have a really good record as a head coach, but that's a little bit misleading because he ran the program at Florida International from 2007 to 2012, and they didn't enjoy a lot of success there. That's kind of a tough job. After that, Cristobal went to Alabama and was the offensive line coach and assistant head coach under, you guessed it, Nick Saban. During his time there, they won one national championship, and then they played for two more national championships. So he got some exposure working under an elite head coach and an elite staff under his belt. So don't think that, the 36-52 just kind of defines who he is as a head coach. This guy is doing a really good job recruiting at Oregon. They were number 7 with the class of 2019, which just wrapped up a couple of months ago. They're actually number 11 with the 2020 class. So that number could go either way by the time the 2020 class is all said and done sometime early next year. But you got to kind of look at some teams that are ahead of him may have more commitments than what they do, and some of the ones below him may have less, and so on and so forth. But they've recruited California really well, especially with last year's class. So things looking up. Things are definitely looking up there. They're getting some talent in the program. Justin Herbert is back at quarterback for Oregon. He's a senior and is projected to be the number 1 overall draft pick in the 2020 NFL draft. He came back instead of foregoing his senior season, I guess, to hone his craft a little bit more. Up there last year, he passed for 3,151 yards, 29 TDs, and 8 interceptions. He played virtually all the offensive snaps for Oregon, and he plays behind an offensive line that is extremely talented. I mean, it is just sick how much experience there is on this offensive line. All 5 starters return from last year. 3 of them are fourth-year starters. Fourth-year starters. Imagine that, the continuity on that offensive line. Now, granted, they've been through a few head coaches, so you just don't find that kind of experience at every school. I mean, in most places you're piecing together a couple over here that are experienced, and then we're bringing in a couple of newcomers over here, or, the center may be a senior and everybody else is a freshman. No, not at Oregon. They have got big continuity on the offensive line. 2 of these guys are all Pac-12 first team. That's kind of an embarrassment of riches there on the offensive line. And that is going to be key to help Justin Herbert make that offense go. If you've got a good offensive line, that solves a lot of problems for you right off the rip. Of course, they like to throw the ball up there. Like to throw it around a lot, and they're bringing back some receivers. Brandon Schooler, Johnny Johnson III, and Jalen Redd are the starters from last year that are returning. They also return Jacob Breland. And another huge get for Mario Cristobal, he brought in an assistant coach, Jovan Bouknight from Utah State. You know, Utah State is where Jordan Love plays at, and they like to air the ball out too. He's got them playing a little bit more disciplined. He's a receivers coach, a longtime assistant, excellent hire for them. Got them playing a little bit more disciplined. Got them really focused on catching the ball, which, you know, as a wide receiver, that's your main job, to catch the ball. Last year, they didn't do a great job of it. This team dropped 52 catchable balls as estimated by the Oregon staff. And I wanted to fix that because, I mean, 52 balls is a lot to drop. That could have cost them a game. Probably, in fact, did cost them a game somewhere or another down the line. I can definitely speak to that. Our South Carolina receiving corps dropped some balls last year that were catchable, thrown by Jake Bentley. That probably cost us a game somewhere or another too. So bringing in this coach, getting them refocused there is huge. And according to them, almost everything that they threw at them during the spring, they caught. That's big. The running back position, they returned C.J. Verdell, 1,018 yards and 10 touchdowns from last year. He's kind of the power back. And then he is complemented by Travis Dye, 739 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's kind of the more finesse guy, the baker and shaker, if you will. So they are looking good there on the offensive side of the ball for Oregon. I don't think anybody out there can stack up hardly as far as experience and depth on that side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, things are not quite as rosy. They're number 55 nationally last year on defense. Now, this was under Jim Leavitt, who was the coordinator, was formerly head coach at South Florida, I believe, and he's moved on. Cristobal has brought in Andy Abalos as the defensive coordinator. Andy was the head defensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator. A little tongue-tied there at Boise State for the past 3 years. And last year, he had the 39th overall defense in the country. I don't think that you normally think of Boise State as being a school that plays really good defense, but they played good defense there under Andy Avalos, and he has kind of been promoted a little bit, and he's now the defensive coordinator at Oregon. He's got some stuff to work with. They returns his leading tackler, Troy Dye, who's an inside linebacker. He's a first-team All-Pac-12 also. Don't know if he's kin to Travis, the running back, or not. Maybe his brother or cousin. I really don't know. But at any rate, this guy is someone that's going to be making a lot of plays for Oregon right there in the middle of that defense. They're also bringing in a 5-star. It was the only 5-star they signed last year in this number 7 recruiting class, Kayvon. You'll have to excuse me here. I got to kind of take notes on this team. This is not a team that I know a whole lot about. It's not like a Georgia or a Clemson or, even a UNC or somebody that's really regionally close to me that I pay a lot of attention to, because it's just not a team that South Carolina will end up playing for the most part, or any of our opponents really will end up playing. So I don't focus on Oregon that much, but Kayvon Thibodeau is his name. He was a 5-star defensive end out of California. He was the USA Today number 1 player from the 2019 class. Probably going to make immediate impact right off the rip on the defensive side of the ball for Oregon. They only returned 3 starters there pretty much, so they kind of got to rebuild there somewhat. That could be a little bit of a weak point. I'm going to jump into the schedule for the 2019 season. We're going to take a look, as we always do, at games that should be sure wins, some games that are probably sure losses. Do they have any of those? I don't know. And what may be toss-ups. Let's go to the Carolina Jackpot Big Board and take a look at the 2019 Oregon schedule. Now, here we have the 2019 slate for the Oregon Ducks. And after checking several sites, come to the consensus that they say you're going to win 9 games. You're going to go over that, you're going to go under that. First of all, let's take a look at what should be sure wins for you this year. And of course, we'd have to point to the game on September 7th, the first home game against the Nevada Wolfpack. That should be a win for you. And then also the next week, you return home to take on the Grizzlies of Montana. This is an FCS school that at one time was a huge power in FCS. They were kind of like North Dakota State is now. It just seemed like they were winning FCS almost every year, or either they were playing for the championship. Not so anymore. And then as far as the Pac-12 schedule here goes, I noticed that Oregon is a Pac-12 member, and it's like all the Pac-12 members and all the Big Ten members. They only play 3 non-conference games. Only 3 non-conference games. I wish the SEC would switch to that also. I think that would make for more of a competitive schedule, but as yet we don't do that. I think we got to look at the last game of the season against Oregon State at home. That's a team that is rebuilding. They played a lot better last year under first-year head coach Jonathan Smith, former Oregon State player, than they had previous years, but still a long way off. I don't know what we call this rivalry, but I'm going to give you the win at home against Oregon State. Last year you took them on in, Corvallis, and you guys just laid the wood to them. I expect a little bit more of a competitive game this year, actually, but I think you take the win against Oregon State. On the 16th of November, you take on Arizona at home. This is a team, when I reviewed them, they've got a really inexperienced secondary coming back. It gave up a lot of yards last year also. You guys lost to them last year. That was kind of one of those unexplainable things. Don't really know what happened there. But, I mean, you got to elevate your game a little bit more than that. That comes off of a bye week for you. So you should have no problem at home beating Arizona. I'm going to give you the win there. I think Kevin Sumlin has kind of underachieved in the 1 year that he's been there with Khalil Tate at quarterback. I think they won maybe 5 games last year, and that was definitely a disappointment there. And I don't really look for him to be much better this year. He get the win in that one. So going on to the rest of this, the 11th of October, you're taking on Colorado at home. This is a Friday game, I believe. This is a team last year that started off, I believe, 5-0, and then I think lost their last 7 games. I mean, the bottom just fell out on them totally from start to finish. Now, I like Colorado's quarterback, Steven Montez, and they've got one of the best receivers in the country playing for them. But with new coach Mel Tucker coming over from Georgia, there'll be some growing pains there. I don't really expect them to compete in the Pac-12 South. I'm going to go ahead and give you the win here against Colorado. Just overall, you're just way more talented than they are. Now, the rest of these games are all ones that could be potential losses or potential wins. In my opinion, let's take a look at what we got going on here. The opening game of the season, of course, will be in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium in Arlington against the Auburn Tigers, a team that defeated you at the end of the 2010 season for what was then the BCS National Championship. Auburn finished up last year, I believe, with a record of 8-5. I'm not mistaken. Don't have that one noted down, but of course, the Music City Bowl against Purdue. They really just ran a train on Purdue, beat them like 52-14, something like that. It was really surprising to me. I actually had Purdue to win that game, and they did no such. Their defense, definitely the strong suit of their team. They have probably the best defensive line in the country. Their secondary is experienced also, but going up against that defensive line is going to be what I think is one of the best and most experienced offensive lines in the country. So we're definitely going to have a battle of wills there. Auburn was 11th last year in the SEC in total offense. That's almost at the bottom. And this year they're really not returning any huge playmakers. Their running back, Jartavius Whitlow, he's okay, but I mean definitely not an elite level talent. Definitely not someone you're really gonna talk about, other than just for the purposes of the game that you're playing them in. Cristobal is familiar with Auburn. I mean, he's familiar with what they do, definitely from his 4 years at Alabama. Just given that, I'm going to give you a win here. I think you beat Auburn in Arlington. I'm not sold on them or impressed with them at all. I'm going to give you a win in that game. But that's one also that bears watching. Okay, it bears watching. As of right now, you are actually an underdog in this game, but I think you win that one. The 21st, on the road at Stanford. Stanford is a team you have not beaten since 2015. A lot was expected of them last year. They had a lot of injuries, especially to Bryce Love, who's a Heisman Trophy candidate at the beginning of the year. By the end of the year, there's no such. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was the big, tall receiver who was actually from up here in the upstate of South Carolina. He's moved on. Their first three games are at home against Northwestern, at USC, and at UCF. Definitely could be a little bit easier of a slate to open up with. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility to think Stanford could come into this game against you guys at 0-3. With the game at home against Northwestern being the one that they would most likely win, at USC and at UCF are definitely not games that I would have them favored in. They were placing a lot on both sides of the ball. This is a road game for you. If you lost to them a few times in a row, I think you take the win here. I think you beat Stanford, but that one bears watching as well. I mean, some of these newer guys could come out and they can come out firing all cylinders. They could be undefeated by the time they play you guys. Who knows with them? They're another one of those teams that they're kind of like Auburn. These teams are just bipolar. You never really know what to expect from them. Cal, the Golden Bears, team that lost a lot on offense from last year. They had a bad offense last year too. Do have a decent defense returning. They were actually number 9 passing defense in the country. All 4 starters returning their secondary too. So I don't know. I just don't think they have enough talent on the rest of the team to make up for that. You guys played them last year. It was close early. And then you kind of pulled away and beat them by 42-24. I'm going to take Oregon in that one to win that one as well. Getting to the tough part of the schedule, on the 19th of October, you are on the road at Washington. The Huskies, you beat them last year at home. They're returning an experienced offensive line. They got Jacob Eason, who will be taking over there at quarterback, most likely. Of course, Eason played the full 2016 season at Georgia. 2017 got injured in the first game, sat out the rest of the year, and then decided to transfer to Washington. He had to sit out a year. I don't know. I don't really understand how that one worked exactly, why he had to sit out a whole year when you got guys like Tate Martell and Justin Fields and, some of these that just flip-flop from one team to the other, and they don't miss any time. I don't get it. But at any rate, Eason will be the quarterback for Washington. He's got that big arm, and he's back home in the Pacific Northwest. This is the game that I don't see y'all winning. I just don't see you winning it. They've lost a lot there off last year's team, but Chris Peterson is a experienced coach with an experienced staff. They just know how to rebuild. They know how to rebuild there and reload. And, until I can see evidence otherwise. I still think of Washington as being the top team on that side of the division. I just do. So I have to give you the loss there. That's not taking anything away from Oregon, and this is definitely one as well that could bear watching. I'm not totally 100% sold that you're going to lose that game, but I definitely am not going to put that in the win column for you as of right now. The next week, you are at home against Washington State, and this is the team you lost to last year on the road. I'm going to give you the win in this game. They were doing some replacements there as well. I got to replace the big quarterback, Gardner Minshew, who had a really, really big year last year. Mike Leach, of course, great offensive mind, a little bit out there, but he seems to always have winners. But I'm going to give you that one against Washington State at home, kind of flip-flopping last year's results between those two guys from the teams from the north of you there. The 2nd of November, I believe you're on the road at USC. I think I put this down as a home game, but this is actually a road game for you, I believe. USC is a team that has the tougher part of their schedule early on in the year. They're replacing a lot in their secondary, but they do return Jason Daniels, who has a pretty big arm. Will he have the receiving talent to throw to? That all remains to be seen. As far as their coaching situation goes, who knows there with Clay Helton? It's kind of rumored that that's going to be where Urban Meyer ends up in 2020. Who knows? If I had my druthers to say, I would say that's probably going to happen. This is just a game that, I don't know, it's tricky for me. It's tricky for me to call. I'm going to go ahead and give you a win here, but I'm going to circle that one and put a watch on it. I'm not 100% sold on that, as we will talk about here in just a moment about losing games to the schedule. The last one that we have to talk about is the 23rd. You are on the road at Arizona State. This is a team that played you really close last year, but you won 31-29. They're losing a lot as far as skill positions go. Their quarterback, Manny Wilkins, is gone. They should have all that figured out by this time. This will be the next to last game of the regular season. They do return Eno Benjamin at running back, who is, I believe, either, depending on where you look, a second or third team All-American. Herm Edwards, I don't know the appropriate term to use here. He's kind of a different style coach, we'll just put it that, than most of the ones that you will see in college, with that NFL experience he had, and then the huge layoff between the time he was a coach for the Jets, I believe, and then taking that Arizona State job. Quite a few years in between those, but they'll have the team ready to play. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. Because he plays to win the game. So I'm going to give you a win at Arizona State, but once again, we'll put a watch on that one as well. So this would put you at 11-1. Las Vegas says you're going to win 9 games this year. Okay, so at 11-1, you definitely are going over that 9-win total. However, I don't think you're going to win 11 games. I just don't. And it's not a slight to Oregon. It's nothing against you. I don't see you being able to go an entire season without slipping up somewhere. The Washington game, I think, will be a loss, and I think you're going to lose a game to the schedule somewhere, and that being one of these games that I've circled. My South Carolina Gamecocks did the same thing back a few years ago when they finished up 11-2 3 years in a row. It's like in 2011, they had a really good year going on, and then they lose somehow to a very mediocre Auburn team. In 2013, had a really good year going on, and they lose on the road to a terrible Tennessee team. It just happens over the grind of a season that these teams inevitably, the ones that are just not the elite of the elite, lose to somebody they shouldn't lose to. And if I had one to pick, I would say it would be the game at USC on the 2nd. This Clay Helton guy could be fighting for his job by this time. So what you want about Urban Meyer coming in, he's got to get fired. I mean, he doesn't want to lose his job. So that's the one that I would most expect to happen. I don't think you're going to lose to Oregon or Auburn, excuse me. You know, they're going to be ushering in a new quarterback there, and the quarterbacks that they have to choose from at Auburn, all of them are young, really talented guys, but they're not going to be gelled by the first game of the season. I think you beat them. I think you also beat Stanford. They have a grind to come off of before they play you guys. That game against USC is where I could see it coming. I think you guys are going to finish up at 10-2, which would put you over that number, and I think that puts you just right outside the top 10. Right outside the top 10 when we finish up the regular season. And then depending on who Washington loses to or doesn't lose to, depending on how their season goes, you may be the Pac-12's representative from the North in that Pac-12 championship game. It's very possible there. I don't see you making the college football playoff, not this year, but I do see you around that 10 spot, right outside that 10 spot with 2 losses. Guys, there it is, the 2019 breakdown on the Oregon Ducks. Man, I never thought that I could talk for that long about Oregon, a team that I really am not that well versed on and not that interested in, but man, I sure did do it. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you're not subscribed, please make sure you subscribe to the videos. Click the little bell so that you get notified for all the Carolina Jackpot videos. I'm going to put a link down in the description box below to a playlist of all the college football previews that I've done so far this year so that you can go back and watch the ones that you may have missed. I also really would like for you to share this video with your friends, to your Facebook, your Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to do. Get the word out on Carolina Jackpot's videos. I got several of them out there that I've done this year that have gotten some really good traffic on them. The Clemson video I did, and actually, believe it or not, the LSU video has gotten a ton of hits on it. But some of the other ones I've done, the Florida State video, the Miami video, they're kind of slow as far as the traffic goes, and I would like to get those bumped up and elevated as well and get some more people viewing those, because in my opinion, they were pretty good. I mean, and in everybody else's opinion, they were pretty good as well. I mean, I got a lot of thumbs up on them, not very many thumbs down. So, hey, that's always good when you're getting more thumbs up than you're getting thumbs down. At least you're making an impression on somebody. So I sure do appreciate y'all watching and continue to support the channel. And I will continue putting out content. We're looking forward to a great college football season in 2019. That's it, guys. I thank you for watching. Peace, and I'm out. And go Gamecocks.